So I kind of started off this fellowship. I got really excited about floating cities, right? I mean, it's a wild idea, and I actually talked to some of the engineers here, and they also agreed it was a wild idea. But the concept I really like. I mean, the idea that instead of trying to exclude water and exclude nature, you kind of function with water and nature. This is not to allow us to develop anywhere. This is specifically to help people that are unable to move or are suffering with severe flooding frequently. And this is an option akin to flood mitigation by elevation. This concept, which I think on a larger scale is not just about amphibiating houses, but it's about trying to it's a flexibility with an ecosystem, being able to flux with an ecosystem as opposed to, excluding all these parts of an ecosystem. You're able to absorb whatever shock. And that might seem a little metaphorical and out there, but I think that this is kind of the way that we should really proceed when we start thinking about mitigation of disaster, period, is thinking about how would an ecosystem absorb this shock and what's the best way to replicate that. Maybe living in these floodplains is not the best idea, right? And maybe there's an option that we can utilize now that would allow us to move from this area while still protecting people, while still keeping our economy booming and keeping our industry going. And that's what I'm going to refer to as strategic migration, right? Notice that I didn't say managed retreat. I didn't say coastal evacuation, because those have such a negative connotation. We're not running from anything. We're moving to someplace. We're moving for opportunity, right? But what we're seeing right now is the physical boundaries of our cities and the coastlines are changing because of sea level rise, right? And so we have control over what the political boundaries are of these cities. And if we start thinking about ways to combine these cities and to maybe even talk about negotiating some sort of annexing of counties that are inwards, that are higher ground, it could be very beneficial for us. But if we're going to talk about sea level rise, I think one of the big reasons that we do want to do this is pooled resources. And I don't just mean financial resources, even though that's a huge component, but we're talking about cities that are working on their own projects right now, that are thinking and coming up with this knowledge and ideas, but they're working in silos. And if we're able to combine them together and work under one umbrella, we could cooperate and make this process way more efficient. This is something that every time we think about planning a seawall or a berm, we should be not thinking about this in a manner that we want to keep people living there forever, and that's why we're doing it. We should be doing it because we want to protect the people that are there, but at the same time, we should be thinking about, okay, so we've done this. This was not a good situation that we were in. We had to do this. What is our next step? What makes sense? Where should we move to? How do we do this in a way that's not going to tank the regional economy? And having these conversations, communicating between the cities. There's a lot of first steps that need to be taken. And I think that if we start that now, start that process now, we can do so in a way that will show that we're leaders in this field of resiliency, and I think a lot of cities will follow suit.